When's it gonna do it? When's it gonna do it? Oh. Ooh! Hey. Hi. Hello. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrew, and if you haven't noticed, I've been MIA the past few weeks. It's been a whirlwind of like school and college applications, and yeah, so also it's midnight and I'm a little but before we get into this video, I just want to quickly thank all 54 subscribers. I'm like looking off to the side right now at my channel, and I'm like, I can't believe 54 people are like actually watching me and like supporting my videos. Like, I have over 300 views on that last video, guys. Like, I kind of popped off. So, thank you so much for supporting my videos, watching me, and yeah, let's just get into this video. Hello, and welcome to the voiceover. So, today I was supposed to be talking about my artistic journey because I've been watching Michelle Lamb's video, mewtripled on YouTube, her video titled My Artistic Journey, obviously, and you know, I've rewatched it over the course of 3 or 4 years, and every time I just think like, oh, I want to do something like that with my channel. Like, I have so many stories I could tell, right? So I've tried doing this voiceover so many times, and every time I do it, I think back further and further, dig deeper into my memory, and I realize that I'm just not... It's not that I had an uninteresting or uneventful childhood. In fact, I think I actually had a pretty eventful childhood, but I think I was just a pretty strange child. I lived in Hawaii for the first 11 years of my life, right? You know, before I moved to Nebraska. It's a downgrade, I know, I've heard it all before. I was a very strange child. I think I would describe myself as somewhat of a cryptid because I just did not talk to anyone. I was very socially awkward. I have a lot of anxiety. I was a very existential child. Like, there was rarely a moment where you wouldn't catch me thinking about something that wasn't like, I don't know, what's another word for existential? So a lot of my childhood was just spent observing things, observing people, and observing, you know, how I'm supposed to act. I remember how when I was in, was it first grade? There was this kid named Aaron, and I was walking with him after lunch, and I was just telling him like, you know, I don't want to sound weird, but I like to like study people. And of course that sounds kind of weird when you're a kid, and I don't even know if he knew what the word study meant, but I was just telling him like, you know, I like to study people. I like to figure out how they would respond to things. And of course, I didn't know how to word it properly in a way that didn't creep anyone out. He was asking me like, oh, how does that work? Like, what do you study about me? What do you know about me? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to know like how you'd react to this and this and this. So he was like, well, what would get me angry? And of course, I didn't want to like get him angry because I don't know. I was just so bizarre as a child. And obviously, the socially awkward child archetype, a lot of their time is spent alone, so a lot of my time was spent alone. I had friends, but, you know, a lot of it was just spent drawing and writing, because originally I didn't want to be an artist, I actually wanted to be an author, which is something that I don't think many people know. So, you know, I'd spend a lot of time practicing, thinking up my own novels. My first sketchbook was actually me planning out the novels that I was supposed to be writing in like 5th, 6th grade. Yeah, that never fully came to fruition, but I do still have it, and I would love to show you eventually, but that's another video. I remember when I was younger, I really liked Percy Jackson books, and I would, you know, go home, I'd get my composition book, and then I'd just start writing. I would write fan fictions in the Percy Jackson universe, but I had my own original characters, my own OCs, before I even knew what OCs were. His name was Adam, son of Ares. But I didn't just write it out. I actually drew out the character. I wanted to like see him visually. I can still remember just how awkward the pose was and me thinking how awkward the pose was, but I couldn't really do much about it. I just didn't know what to do. So yeah, he was just awkwardly sitting in the middle of a page, and I was like, yep, this is my character. And I would go around showing everyone, and then he'd be like, oh my god, you made that. And I was like, yep, that's right, damn right. Because when I was younger, it's not that I like lived for validation. I wasn't one of those people. I actually made sure when I was younger that I did not constantly crave validation. But you know, when you're doing artistic things, it's nice when you get some recognition, right? So when I was younger and I was writing these stories and doing these drawings, I would nonchalantly have them hanging out of my side, you know, like I would be holding them slightly open so that people could somewhat see it, and when people pointed it out, I'd be like, oh my god, don't look at it. I remember, embarrassingly, when I moved to Nebraska in 6th grade, I was very, you know, unaccustomed to the traditions of the Caucasians, and I was just very, like, I don't know, like I didn't want to deal with the people, so I just minded my own business, except for when my teacher, she would read these books when we came back in from recess. And so we just, you know, like circle around her, and half of us were listening, half of us were like just talking to each other, I guess. We didn't really care that much. I just remember asking her, can I read my novel that I've been writing? I remember I was writing it on my dad's old Toshiba computer that doesn't even work anymore. So RIP to that story. I don't know why she said yes, but she said yes. And every day after recess, we would come in, I would bring out my pages that I printed off from our home printer, and I would just start reading this story, the fantasy story. Fun fact, I love fantasy. I've always been into, not just into actually, I've been very obsessed with Pokemon my whole life. When I was younger, my favorite book was The Chronicles of Narnia. I remember reading that. So the story was sort of like an Alice in Wonderland story. I had my own world, I had my own, like, my two protagonists. I just had it going on. So I would read this, and I don't even know if anyone paid attention during that class. But I read it with so much pride, man. I was like, yup, I'm gonna be that author one day. And when I have all this money and you see me on those billboards with my book, you'll know. I ain't that little brown kid no more in your little Nebraskan class. Well, jumping forward a little bit, obviously that didn't completely work out. Because, I don't know, I didn't fall out of love with writing. I still like writing, just in different ways. But yeah, the long form novels just weren't doing it for me anymore. So I put everything into drawing, which is something that has persisted my entire life, strangely. Even when I wanted to write, I was still drawing in the background. I've always liked doing, you know, like crafty things. I liked being like independent skill-wise, like I wanted to be able to do everything on my own. Because I didn't want to ask people for help. Obviously, I couldn't even talk to people. So I wanted to learn how to draw. I always had like the Pokemon manuals, and I would copy the drawings out of there. I had like a whole binder. It was a Cars binder, like Cars the Pixar movie. I had a Cars binder just full of like these copies of Pokemon drawings, and it was also filled with Pokemon stickers because that was a thing back then that we all liked. So yeah, like throughout my childhood, I was just drawing, and I think any Gen Z art kid, because, you know, being the art kid, you're very much expected to do a certain thing. So I was like, well, I gotta live up to that, right? So like any Gen Z art kid would do, I went onto YouTube, and of course I'd search into the search bar, like, how to get better at drawing, how to draw a person, because I love drawing people still, how to draw wolves or something, I don't know. And these artists would come up, you know, the Markrillis, the Prokopankos, the Psychras, and I was so obsessed with these videos. I was like, oh my god, how could I ever, but like, can I ever, and will I ever? I will. I was a very determined child. Maybe you could call it egotistical, but I was pretty determined to, you know, get myself there. So I'd watch all these videos, and I would just take my printer paper, I would put it on my dinner table, and just start following the tutorials. I remember specifically following tutorials like how to draw a wolf from Markrilli, because I was like, oh my god, anime god senpai. So that's really where I started learning how to draw. And then I started getting into oil painting. I wanted to get into every single medium possible. Again, I want if I do something, I want to be the best that I can at it. So it's unacceptable for me to know about a medium and not immediately pick it up. I got into painting. When I moved to Nebraska, my aunt, she gifted me this set of acrylic paints and some canvases, and I was like, oh my god, I can do whatever I want. And at this time, my taste was getting a little more refined in terms of like artistic complexity, I guess, because I started getting into surrealism, you know, Salvador Dali, this like Instagram community of surrealists and especially pop surrealism. Like, I was on the scene, my little 12-year-old self was on the scene, and I was so determined to like make a name for myself, to like get myself out there. So when I was in 6th or 7th grade, when I was in 7th grade, I made my first art account. It went by the name Art by Inks, which if you look it up, it's not there anymore. I changed it to Taro Ticks, which is obviously, you know, the channel you're watching now. And yeah, I would just start posting these really, I wouldn't say that they're, are they bad? I was really, how would I even describe my old art? I'll have to like put up some pictures of my old art, because I was just trying to be weird, because that's how I felt on the inside. Like, I was so like deep and complex and no one understood me. And yeah, I continued on this pop surrealism / surrealism path for so long. Like, it evolved, right? But you know, the more it evolved, the more I realized that I was getting into character territory. Like, I wasn't really about the surrealism anymore. It was about me putting characters into like situations. Before that, I was, you know, again, I feel like you could explain my artistic journey just based off of who I was watching at the time. During middle school, I was really into like YouTube artists, so I would watch Happy D artists, and who else, like Semi-Skinned Min. Is that even her name anymore? Minnie Small, I think that's her name. And of course, you know, mewtripled. You know, I figured on Instagram I was just sharing, and I had plans to start a shop actually, because as a very anxious person, I honestly always think about how different things could turn out, and I was thinking about how if I started a shop, I could, you know, generate revenue, all while getting my art out there. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm working it out. And I'm in 7th grade. Like, I have my whole life figured out already. It's fine. Obviously not, but, you know. But then, you know, as I started digging deeper and deeper into the animation community on YouTube, which I didn't even know it was, like, that legit. Like, the animation community on YouTube is, like, where it's at. That's where it's at. I was watching mewtripled more and more, and realizing that she wasn't really like something that I just aspired to in terms of success and like her personality or whatever. It was actually like the type of art that I wanted to create. And I was realizing this, and I was having a bit of a existential crisis, even more so than the ones that I've had before, because I was like, oh no, this is like completely unhinging my path to art. Like, am I gonna be able to make my shop? Like, what am I gonna do about all this paint? I've like invested all these skills. But you know what, I just sucked it up and dealt with it and started, you know, getting into animating and character design and wanting to create more like stories, because I realized that this whole time I've been wanting to make stories. It's just I couldn't figure out how to do it in a painting, because a painting obviously is just one still image, right? So you have the painting, and I'd figure out how to create the story by putting symbols into it, but obviously if you're not me and you don't know what the symbols are, it doesn't really make sense. I worked it out in my head like, oh, animation's the perfect way to combine my love of storytelling, my aptitude for storytelling, with my aptitude for art. I was like, oh my god, it's working out, it's perfect. I remember in freshman year, I'm in band, I'm in the color guard, and we had a trip to Florida so that we could perform in the Disney World parade or something. Yeah, now that I'm saying that out loud, that sounds like a really big deal. I guess it was a really fun time. But the best part about it was in what's it called? Like Epcot, they have this just like so many cultural areas, places that you can dine, places that you can shop. Epcot was my favorite part of Disney World, just saying. But I remember going to Japan, I guess, the Japan part of Epcot. I remember going to the shop there, and obviously they have all of this Studio Ghibli stuff because Studio Ghibli is kind of like the gateway drug into anime for people in the West, and that was my introduction to anime, if you don't count Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. So there was all of the Studio Ghibli stuff, and I was looking around, and on one of the walls that was against the shopping window, I saw all of these books, like The Art of, like, Kiki's Delivery Service, The Art of... They didn't have Spirited Away. If they had Spirited Away, I would have gotten it. But what I did end up getting was The Art of Princess Mononoke. And you can see it in my desk tour, I think. I treat that book like it's my literal child. Like, I have gone through it so many times. It's such a great source of inspiration. And on the way home, we went to a Barnes & Noble's, and I was looking around because I was like fully settled on the fact that I was going to get into animation. And I knew for animation, you needed a really good understanding of anatomy and humans. So I made sure I picked up Anatomy of the Artist. And then when I got home, I ordered the Animator Survival Kit off of Amazon. And yeah, that was like my holy trifecta of books in freshman year. I was like, holy crap, like I'm really doing this. So yeah, you know, I was really getting into it. I remember asking for like a Wacom tablet when I was in freshman, sophomore year. I don't know, I got it around that time. And it's the one that I still use. You know, after like a month of just like being frustrated with it, I put it down. I'm the type of person that if I like tinker with something and it's not working out, I can literally put it down for like a month or two and then I come back to it and it just makes sense. I don't know how that happens, but it does, and it did. So when I picked it back up, I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this for real. On Instagram, I was following more and more of these more cartoony animation style artists, and I was realizing like, oh wow, because when you're in that like fine art sphere, I don't know, maybe it's just like the high achieving kid in me and like pretentious snob in me that was like, oh, like cartoons and stuff, like OCs, that's all like lowbrow art, because that's all the art that like people around me were doing. And I was like, oh, I'm so much better than that. Like I don't need to do that. I can just skip straight to like beautiful, meaningful, symbolic paintings. So yeah, I was definitely a bit of a snob about it. And you know, when I got into designing characters, I was like, oh no, I'm like really behind on this, aren't I? Because I pushed it away for so long. So yeah, that was a real struggle trying to transition. The best way I can describe it is you're not looking at this piece of art for the frame of the character posing. You're looking at the piece of art for how the frames move. You're looking for the action. You're looking for the story that it's telling. So that was a rough transition. But like once I started getting into it, I was like, wow, this is like just a culmination of everything I wanted to do. You know, the storytelling of ye olden times, ye olden childhood. So yeah, I guess for the past couple of years, I've just been trying to build up my skills. I do a lot of figure drawing. I do a lot of studies because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm prepared for when I inevitably go off to college. And oh, I feel so bad about this, but you know how my last video was a CalArts sketchbook video? Well, you know how I also noted that CalArts was like exorbitantly expensive, like just absolutely bonkers in terms of tuition. Well, I was, you know, really getting down to it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I think even with like the right opportunities, this is just not gonna work out for me. So I am discontinuing that CalArts sketchbook series. Sorry. And I'm gonna be looking at some other colleges, so you'll still get sketchbook videos, just not CalArts sketchbook video. In true Michelle Lamb fashion, I think I should be ending the video with this. You are not just a reflection of your art, you are actually, surprisingly, your own person. And yeah, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to produce the art that you want to. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to have the proper mental health. You just need to take care of yourself, basically. I've said this in past videos too. I'm always the type of person that's rejected cliches because, I don't know, it just seems so blasé. Like, I'm so above cliche, guys. Like, I don't need to have like those little believe in yourself posters splattered across my room. But what I realized is that, you know what? When it comes to those cliches, they're cliches for a reason. And it just takes a long time for you to actually like feel them. It's like when you hear the song and you like what it's saying, you like what the message is, but you just can't get into the feeling of it. That's what a cliche is like. It's like you can understand in your brain what the cliche is saying and you can keep it in mind, but until it hits you, it doesn't hit you. So, you know what, just keep in mind that you need to take care of yourself. You need to be your own person. Oh, but also make sure you don't just like reject people and like push people away, because, you know, as a socially anxious kid, that's kind of all I know how to do. Even now, I'm really bad at it, so yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, I go by Xander A. Munoz right now, Xander with an X. Xander A. Munoz on Instagram, because, you know, I've had... Oh, this is a side story. You know how I made that Instagram account in 7th grade? Well, it turns out that every time you want to restart your Instagram, make everyone unfollow you, delete all of your posts, it turns out the algorithm doesn't like that. So I had to, you know, switch over to another account, and that account's been thriving, I think. I don't know. It's very easy to impress me now in terms of, like, analytical numbers. I'm just very grateful that you may not know that you're giving me a second chance right now, but this is, like, the biggest second chance I could possibly ask for. So, yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.